Hey everyone, Rich here, Rich Maxwell channel. Welcome to my little channel. Today we're doing a bit of a different sort of video. We're going to be replacing the high voltage battery in a Nissan LEAF. So I've got this which has a decent state of health. So I'm going to fit it into my LEAF just here. So we'll try and make this an informative video to help any other LEAF owners out there if they're thinking of doing this. But yeah, the car that I've got is a 2011 on the very first kind of batteries and very heavily degraded, 42% state of health. Only gets me a range of 20 miles. So this new used battery has got 78% state of health. So hopefully it's going to make a big improvement. First thing to do, just disconnecting the 12 volt. Disconnect black first, so that's neutral, so it don't matter if that touches any bodywork. That's the battery power. Pretty much disconnected, but then going to be extra safe, disconnect the 12, the positive as well. There we go. Next, we disconnect the high voltage. So under this, we've got a few screws, bolts, 3 bolts, 10mm bolts. And there we go, no more high voltage. That's disconnected all the high voltage in the main battery that we're going to remove soon. So next up, jacking up the car. Got the wheel chocks at the front there, so I'm going to start off with jacking the rear, get it onto cut the axle stands, and then we'll get the front up. So as there's no obvious central kind of jacking point on the front of the car, just doing it with 2 jacks, a little bit either side at a time. We get the front end up, get the axle stands then under some parts of the suspension, some solid bits, and that's the car raised. So that's all jacked up. The 2 jacks supporting that part there. Left that one over there just for safety. We've got these 2 going onto the subframe there at the front, I think it's called. Anyway, don't seem to be moving. So as well as 10mm bolts, we've got these little fasteners to unpick. All the bolts and clips holding all the trays underneath. Trays are off there. So now I can start planning how I'm going to remove this battery. First, I'm going to remove these 2 plugs. Communications one, simple, we just twist the grey thing and then it pulls out. Now that I'm going to have to repin to a 36 pin plug. That's going to be an interesting job. I haven't done that before. But I've got a little toolkit to do it, so hopefully we'll get on alright. Now, from what I've seen, remove this. There's a bit you press at the side and a bit at the front. So you push the blue little slider back first, and then on the top there and the side there, there's 2 clips to push in. Then it just pulls out. Simple. So I'm going to put that out the way, up there, so I don't want it getting broken in the lowering process. Earthing straps that are 10mm. this is my plan in terms of lowering out the battery. I've got these two motorbike jacks, so these are rated to take, I think, about 300 kilos each, so they'll easily take the weight of the battery, each one of those. And I'm going to have to jack the car a tiny bit down, get them sitting on that. Then I'm going to undo all the battery bolts, so the battery will be supported on the jacks, and then yeah, I can lower it down. I've got a huge load of extensions on my impact wrench because I don't want to be under the car when the battery's lowering down in case anything goes wrong. I don't want a battery landing on me. So yeah, I think this will all work out. The the jacks, when they're fully down, they're lower than that platform, that dolly that I've made. So the battery will just sit onto that, and then we'll pull it straight out. So starting off, I'm going to undo two very awkward bolts at the back here. Move my camera in, hopefully you'll be able to see them on some mounts. Looks like we've got a few bolts holding it on. Bolts just there on either side. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 along each side. And then that looks like it. I think that's it. So 8 bolts to undo. I'll undo probably the centre 2. Maybe this one and those 2 front ones. Leave these corners until last. It's alright, no bolts holding that anymore, it's just on the 2 motorcycle jack stands. So, as planned, I'm going to slowly lower them one side at a time onto my little platform. Underneath the battery, there's a little sort of like target mark, like a bullseye, as you can see just there. So that is kind of like its balancing point, if you like. So if I drop it onto that, it shouldn't move. It should be nice and like balanced, so it's not going to just tip onto one side. That's the theory anyway. Okay, so the bolts on the back of this are actually different on the older cars compared to the newer ones. So I haven't actually ordered the proper bolts, which I will do. So for now I'm just going to try and find a bolt in my spares that will fit. Okay, so battery's out. Just about got done. Dry a bit. Now I can spray a load of this black soil and I just do underneath the car a bit now, places you won't be able to get to normally, and I'll do the battery casing a bit as well because it's got a bit of corrosion. What we've got to do now, slight modification on these little these brackets, even though I don't have the right bolts yet. Need to essentially just drill them out a little bit higher up here, because these are for the Mark 1 battery, and that's only one big bolt, whereas the Mark 2 battery has two smaller bolts. Now, unless I'd actually got the brackets from the breaker car, it means I'm just going to have to modify these and have one bolt at the back. Should be fine. There's plenty of bolts holding this battery up, so I can't see it causing any issues at all. Okay, so underneath here, nicely under sealed now around the important bits, all these sills and everything, so it's stop any rust. Mounts are cut. And what I'm going to do now then is slide the battery under, and then we're going to work out the position. I'm going to use a laser level, and then hopefully I can get the holes all lined up, and then lift it up, and then bolt it straight in. Put fresh gloves on, and now they're filthy. I wax oiled all that battery, so yeah, that's wrecked my new glove. The situation we have now, got the battery roughly under. Then you get the motorbike jacks under either side, like how I load it out. And essentially raise it up. You need to make sure that the bolts line up with the holes. So that's going to be the trick, the challenge that we face. The laser level is essentially projecting a nice vertical line. Now I've just got to line it up with the bolt hole. Just under there. There you can see that. Now that the battery's under the car, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it up. I'm going to put a block of wood under the dolly and then drop the jacks off a bit. So that means I'll be able to manoeuvre the battery into position. So I'm just going to use some string instead. I'm going to do 2 bolt holes with the string, get it all aligned, and then raise it up. Okay, with a bit of wiggling, we have 2 bolts in. So these 2, that means the battery is all lined up. I'm going to jack it a tiny bit higher, and then we can get the rest of the bolts in and tighten it all up. So one little thing I need to do, because this battery has a port for the PTC heater on the newer model Leafs. I've got an old PTC plug, just undone the pins on it, and then just going to put it back kind of like that with a load of silicone inside, and that will just blank off that plug and make it waterproof, so there's no risk of high voltage arcing and electrocuting things. So back into the car, what I'm doing now is this plug. It's a 22 pin plug. It needs to be a 36 for the new battery. So I've got a unpinning, pin depinning toolkit. So that will help me undo all pins on the current plug and then repin it. And also got the wiring diagrams here from Darla, the great GitHub. Without Darla, this would literally be impossible for me to do, so he's an absolute legend for all the info he's put out there about these leaves. Check out his channel for sure if you're going to do this. So unpinning the connector just isn't happening for me. I just can't get the pins out, so I'm going to have to just cut them off one at a time, wire them into the new connector with new crimps on. So getting towards the final part of the battery install process, just got to fit this. It's called a can bridge. So to fit this, I've got to just pop a bit of plastic off down here. And there's some wiring here that goes basically from the battery to the computer on the car. So it enables the car to read the battery and know the battery's health and the battery percentage level and all that. So yeah, just got to fit this. It's, this is the cam bridge, pretty much fitted. It's just this little device grounded to there, and then there's 2 wires here that I had to snip, and then it kind of interrupts their messages, goes into this little device and makes them in well, a format that this Leaf can communicate with.
Okay, so at this point my phone, which I was filming this all on, ran out of battery, so I don't have any more footage, but essentially all I did now was really just put the car back and following the reverse of what I did to start with. So I put the high voltage disconnect back on, connected the 12 volt battery back, pull all the covers back on underneath the car, had to drill a few extra holes in the covers because on the new battery, which the covers screw into, the holes are in different positions. So it's really just a couple of screws right at the back on the rearmost cover that I had to modify a little bit to make it fit. But yeah, essentially that was it. Then using Leaf Spy and an OBD scanner, had to just pair the battery with the car. In Leaf Spy, it is showing a few like error codes. Hopefully as I drive they'll go away, but it doesn't seem to have any ill effects on the car and no warning lights in the dash. And also for some reason it just shows 12 health bars for the new battery, so that might just be something that will just get updated eventually on the Canvas software by Darla who makes it, as it seems a bit of a bug to do with that, I believe. But no big deal. Looks like everything else works great. The car has got much more range now, driving really nice, and yeah, I can actually use my heater and drive for more than like 15 miles in the cold, so much better, much more usable car. And yeah, I feel like I've saved this car really from the scrap heap, as it wasn't going to be much use to many people with the very short range it had. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope this helps if you're looking to swap your battery in your Leaf. I would say you need a decent level of skill to do this, probably a bit of experience working on cars, good selection of tools, but yeah, it's doable. Probably I would not do it again. I'd probably just look to buy a Leaf that's got a half decent battery, as they are getting quite cheap nowadays. But yeah, quite satisfying to do this myself anyway.